Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Kim, aka the Booker Harlot, because I love all things Booker Prize related. Now, the Booker Prize season is upon us. The long list has been announced. I have read 3.5 of the 13 books so far, and I thought for this reading vlog, I would tackle Old God's Time by Sebastian Barry. I'm listening to the audiobook, and it is narrated by Stephen Hogan. Now, Sebastian Barry is not a new to me author. I have read his book, Days Without End, and I did enjoy it. He started writing in 1982, so I think he's probably the most established author out of all of the long-listed authors. He's been long-listed for the Booker Prize twice, and one year he was actually favored to win. So this must be super exciting for him to be up for a third time. And the reason why I film from my Jeep is because I drive a lot and I listen to audiobooks while I'm driving. Now, my husband very kindly gave me a very fancy set of noise canceling earplugs that are wireless. That makes it a lot easier for me to do other things and listen to the audiobook, which is fantastic. Thank you, honey. So I am going to get driving, I'm going to get knitting, I'm going to get walking Ripley, and I'm going to take video clips for you, and I'll get back to you when I'm about halfway through. And the first clip I will leave you with is of Lake Ontario, which is just outside my window. See you soon. Hey, come on. These are some of the books that have arrived at my door. So, Western Lane by Chetnat Maru, as well as How to Build a Boat by Elaine Feeney. And I just thought I'd give you a little update on my knitting progress. This is the Kiss Shawl by Melissa Kudlow of Sandra Yarn Company, and I'm knitting it with Muse, which is 90% merino and 10% linen. And it's a top-down shawl, so it starts at the top and ends up as a big triangle. So time to get reading and knitting. So I am halfway through Old God's Time, and I am having a fantastic time with this book. Now let's start with plot. It takes place largely around the main character, who is named Tom Kettle, and he is a retired Irish detective. And two police officers come knocking on his door to get his assistance for a cold case that he was involved in many, many years ago. Now, Tom has a hard time remembering things, and we know from the beginning that his wife has passed away, as well as his daughter and his son. So in terms of structure, it's told in the third person, and it's a very linear structure. It's told in 17 chapters. However, there is this lovely meandering, and it's done in a very structured and, I believe, meaningful way, in which the plot is taking place on a certain level, and then Tom is remembering certain things, and you are enlightened as to his past, and he is enlightened to his past, and then it returns back to the present. And it's almost like sitting on the side of the ocean, which is very appropriate for this book, and watching these waves of memories come back and then recede again, and dealing with the present. And it's very rhythmic in terms of its structure. And I did get a hold of a copy of the book because the writing is so beautiful. that I wanted to make sure that, you know, the sentences that I heard while I was making a right hand turn and not quite paying attention were as beautiful as I thought. So I have been going back and actually rereading certain portions, and the writing is magnificent. Now, in terms of characters, this book largely focuses on Tom, and we don't really see any other characters except through his perspective, which I think is absolutely appropriate for someone who is trying to remember a very traumatic past. Now, in terms of pacing, I absolutely love it. I think that it is incredibly well done. I don't think that there is anything that is put in this book that wasn't meant to be. And I really like the way that we're sort of the reader is very slowly finding out about Tom and his past as Tom is remembering it and trying to reconcile and process and survive through those moments. In terms of themes, it very much deals with grief and mourning and a sense of belonging. And there are triggers of child abuse and slight violence, but not in a grotesque way. I really think that this is going to be a heavy book in terms of themes and the issues that it's trying to tackle. Which brings me out to compare it to The Bandit Queens by Perini Shroff, because Perini Shroff does deal with such heavy-handed subject matters and themes and is able to do it in such a comedic way. And I was blown away by this book, and I'm being blown away by some of the scenes in Old God's Time. And I won't give out any spoilers, but there is a scene in the kitchen that is so well done in dealing with something so traumatic, yet I laughed out loud during it. Then I've thought to myself, well, I shouldn't be laughing out loud at something like this, but it was actually a very funny moment and really turned the scene around. Anyways, I'm going to keep driving and listening and knitting and listening and walking Ripley. And I will leave you with some video clips of the usual. And here is a little clip of Lake Ontario. See you soon. Come on. So 2 packages of books arrived today. This is my House of Anne and Z subscription, and an advanced reading copy of An Ordinary Violence by Adriana Chartrand. Okay, and The Librarianist by Patrick DeWitt. I have read him before. The Sisters Brothers made the Booker think it was the long list and the short list one year, as well as the Giller Prize, which was very exciting. And then I highly suspect this is Booker. Oh, A Study for Obedience by Sarah Bernstein. Isn't that funny? It's a pet peeve of mine to have dead animals on the cover, and 2 arrived. Anyways, it's always exciting to have books in the mail. A very lucky moment. And then a little knitting update. I have, I think, 10 out of the 14 required stripes for the shawl. And I am really enjoying this. So I finished Old God's Time, and I adore this book. I think this is the one to win. And just a warning, no spoilers, but if you are reading or listening to the last chapter, chapter 17, do not do what I do and arrive to work just as you're finishing the book, because it will cause you to ugly cry in the parking lot. And I was not wearing waterproof mascara. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about is how much I absolutely adore Tom's character. He is such a real to me character after finishing this book. I love the way that Tom loves, and I love the way that he approaches life and how he treasures small moments of happiness that just seem to be like perfection. And I love that he treats life with the greatest of kindness that he can, even though with his past that isn't justified. um I was very interested in the way that he's carried his grief and was able to move through life. He is a character that is really going to stay with me. One of the things that fascinated me about this book was the pacing. I have never been so fascinated by pacing before, but this book is like sitting on the edge of the ocean, and you're sitting in the past and the waves roll in and bring back, oh sorry, you're sitting in the present and the waves roll in and bring in a little bit of the past, and then you go right back to the present again. It's just so expertly done. I absolutely adored it. This is absolutely a book that I will reread again. And I love it when books do this in terms of you discover all of the mysteries and suspense, and then you are able to go back and reread the book like it's a completely different book because you discovered the mystery and suspense. And that's why books are magic. They are absolutely magic to me. So, in terms of the long list, I'm going to rate this as number one, my first choice so far. I'm going to put Pearl by Sean Hughes as the number two. For number six, I'm going to say This Other Eden by Paul Harding. And for number 13th, I'm going to say If I Survive You by Jeffrey Escoffrey. Now, the short list is less than 2 weeks away, so we're getting really, really close. And thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time. And I have put links in the description box below to the individual reviews of the Booker long list that I have read so far. And this Sunday, I'm going to be doing the first in a series of 4 books in which I talk about the top books of all of the Booker prizes. And I'm going to do 13 books for each one because I could never ever narrow down the Booker long list, all almost 400 books, into just 13 books. So please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. And I will leave you with a clip of the sun setting over my lake. Not this lake, this is Lake Ontario. But last night the sun set over our lake, and it set behind a huge thundercloud, which hit a couple of hours later, and it was something else. See you soon. Thanks again. That's a very big thunderstorm.